Hello, hello, hello. This is the Vanilla JS podcast. I'm Chris Ferdinandi. Thanks so much for joining me. Today, I wanted to talk to you about the question that changed my career. Before we dig in, though, I just wanted to give you a quick heads up that my biggest sale of the year happens in just 2 weeks. From Black Friday through Cyber Monday, every single thing I sell will be 50% off. Every guide, every video course, every bundle. I'm also opening up registration for a new Vanilla JS Academy, and that's also half off. And as if that weren't good enough, if you buy one of my bundles or register for Academy, you'll also get hundreds of dollars in bonus discounts for other products, services, and events, as well as a few freebies. So keep your eyes posted for that. I'll be sending out a dedicated email in about 2 weeks. Now, on to today's show. So before I worked in web development, I used to be a human resources guy. And a big part of what I focused on was teaching software engineers how to plan their careers, figure out what they wanted to do next, apply for jobs, and really kind of move into that next thing. And I found myself in the training and development organization working with a manager who really wanted to rethink the way that we handled employee development. So rather than putting some butts in seats and talking to people for a while, he was exploring things like micro-learning, YouTube-style videos, mobile learning on web apps and things like that. Just really kind of interesting experimental stuff. And we had come up with this idea for this just-in-time YouTube-ish kind of learning app that's always in your pocket, right? So whatever you need to learn, right there in your pocket whenever you want it, like on a web app kind of thing. And we had kind of explored doing it internally, just putting together a quick prototype. And they told us it would take over a year, would cost $100,000, probably wouldn't have some features we really cared about. We looked at going through an outside agency, and they told us it would be $500,000. And that's just for a prototype, not even like a finished product or anything, just kind of like a working prototype. So, that was out of budget. That was going to take way too long. We just wanted some like minimum viable thing that we could just test, So I had been blogging a human resource blog at the time and kind of hacking around with HTML and CSS. And I was known within our team as the HR guy who knows tech. So my boss said to me, "Hey, do you think you could build this?" And I said, "No, I absolutely cannot. I don't know how to build apps. I build simple little blogs. This is way out of my bandwidth here." And, a manager might typically have left it at that, but he looked at me and said right back at me, "Well, can you learn?" And I honestly wasn't expecting that. I don't know, maybe I should have been. That's just the type of guy he was, but I wasn't expecting that. So I thought about it for a second. I said, I don't actually know, but let me go kind of do a little research and I'll get back to you in a couple days. And so I started digging through Stack Overflow, trying to figure out how I could hack WordPress into a web app platform. I had been blogging on WordPress for about a year or two and knew the platform well-ish enough that I had some ideas on how you might be able to kind of tweak it. So after spending 3 weeks just deep in the bowels of Stack Overflow and really random blogs and lots of Googling, I came back to him with the worst code I have ever written in my life. I mean, this thing was hideous. It was insecure. It was inaccessible. It was just absolutely terrible. But it worked. I went from having absolutely no idea what I was doing to creating this semi-functional app. And not even really semi-functional. It was functional. It was ugly and kind of held together with glue and duct tape, but it worked. And for me, the thrill of going from this idea to this fully functioning application that I can run on my phone, I can run on my computer, I can run anywhere with a web connection was really, really, really exciting. And in that moment, I was hooked on web development. That's the moment I said to myself, I don't want to be a human resource professional anymore. I want to be a web developer. It was the moment that kickstarted my entire career. And From there, I spent like 2 years trying to break into web development. I started first by kind of doubling down on learning more about development. I started digging into jQuery and JavaScript. I started looking at job descriptions. I started going on like informational interviews, so not really looking for a job, but just kind of talking to people in the industry, both in my own company at the time and at agencies and people I knew in the industry, about kind of what they do and any advice they might have on kind of getting into the field. One of those people, by the way, was Brad Frost. He was, at the time, just kind of becoming an up-and-coming person in our space, and he was really, really, really cool about taking some time to chat with me about what he'd learned from breaking into the industry and do's and don'ts. And I've just, along the way, I've met so many people like Brad who have been willing to like give me a little bit of their time to help me learn something I didn't know before. So that was another thing that for me really made me fall in love with web development as an industry. We share so much of what we know. In human resources, the stuff that you learn is internal proprietary information that really helps one company differentiate from another in terms of like people practices. And so they're really hesitant to share stuff in detail with other companies. They have conferences and they talk about best practices and kind of at high level, but to get people who are willing to give you so many specific details about how to do things just really solidified my love for this profession and this craft. And so after a couple of years, a lot of failed interviews, a lot of really embarrassing tech interviews, I met someone at Artifact Conference. And everywhere I went, I would mention to people that I was looking. I was trying to get hired. I was looking to change careers. I had started putting a lot of stuff I was tinkering with out on GitHub. So I had kind of this collection of code you could look at. But I mentioned to this guy I met at Artifact that I was looking. It just randomly over lunch. And then like a month and a half, 2 months later, he emailed me. I was actually surprised he remembered me, but he emailed me saying that there was an opening on his team, and if I was interested, he thought I might be a good fit for it. And I somehow managed to get hired, and that kickstarted my web development career. But for me, it all circles back to having a manager who dared to ask me the question, can you learn? And I'm not the only one with this story either. I was actually talking to a student of mine at the last Artifact conference, and she was telling me a very similar story about how her career started, where, she was working in a different kind of space and got asked if she could figure out how to do something that she had no idea how to do, and spent several weeks Googling and playing around with stuff and failing a lot, and ended up becoming kind of the team expert on this thing. And that was really the start of a big part of her career as well. I think if I had to come up with a takeaway here, I didn't really have kind of and to tie this all together kind of message, but I'm just kind of like thinking about this in real time out loud. If you ever feel like something is beyond what you can learn, it may be in this exact moment, and that doesn't mean you can't get there. And it doesn't even mean you can't get there in the near-term future. The thing you make is probably going to be terrible and not in any way production worthy or something you would want to actually use day to day. But there are so many things that feel like you can't do them if you're just starting out. And it turns out that with a little bit of kind of sweat equity and a few people who are willing to help you along the way, you can absolutely get there. One thing I forgot to mention in this story is that for 3 days when I was working on that initial Can You Learn project, I was stuck. I just could not figure out how to get this one thing to work. And I dug through as much of Stack Overflow as I could. And finally, I decided rather than just looking to see if someone had already asked the question, I would ask it myself. And within 2 hours, someone had identified the thing I was fucking up really bad and gave me the way to fix it. And I was off to the races, and that was it. I was able to get the project done a couple days after that. I guess the other thing here is if you're feeling stuck, you don't know what to do, you really just can't get over this hurdle, ask. I am always happy to answer reader questions if I can. I don't always know the answer. There's a lot of stuff people ask me that I've never dealt with either, and I can sometimes point them to places they could look. Other times I just have no clue either. But please, go to gomakethings.com, click on the About link. My email and Twitter stuff is right there. Contact me, ask away. I'm always happy to answer questions if I can help. I had so much help along the way, and I love to pay it forward. So anyways, that's it for today. I just kind of wanted to share my story because I think a lot of people, I talk to them and it's hard for them to imagine a time when I had no idea what I was doing with web development, because a lot of stuff that seems hard to them seems like it's easy to me. But honestly, just like 6 years ago, I had no clue what I was doing. So if that's you today, you can absolutely get there. And it doesn't take as much time as you might think. So anyways, that's it for today. Don't forget to keep an eye out for my Black Friday / Cyber Monday sale. It's my biggest event of the year with awesome deals and a ton of great bonus offers. And I think you're going to love it. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.